Your mind is either your greatest asset or your greatest enemy. It will either open doors of opportunity or build walls of limitation. It will either push you forward or hold you back. The truth is, success and failure begin in the same place, in the mind. Most people don't lose in life because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity. They lose because they never learn to control their thinking. They let fear shape their decisions. They let doubt steal their potential. They let distractions pull them away from what truly matters. But those who master their minds, who discipline their thinking, rise above. They don't let circumstances dictate their future. They create their future. They train their thoughts to work for them, not against them. Your philosophy determines whether you succeed or struggle. The way you think about money, success, and opportunity dictates every financial decision you make. If you believe wealth is for the lucky, that money is the root of all evil, or that success is out of your reach, then you have already placed a limit on your potential. Wealth doesn't start in the bank. It starts in the mind. Until you change the way you think about money, you will never have it in abundance. Most people grow up with limiting beliefs about wealth. Maybe they heard phrases like, rich people are greedy, or money doesn't grow on trees. These ideas shape their reality, making them resentful towards success or afraid to pursue it. But here's the truth. Wealth is simply the result of value creation and disciplined financial decisions. If you serve people, solve problems, and improve yourself, money will flow toward you. But if you reject wealth mentally, it will never stay in your hands. A man once told me, "I'll never be rich because I wasn't born into a wealthy family." I said, "Well, that's your first mistake. Wealth is not an inheritance. It's a mindset." The greatest fortunes weren't handed down. They were created by people who first believed they could be wealthy. Andrew Carnegie started as a poor immigrant. Henry Ford as a farmer's son, and countless others had nothing but a belief in what was possible. What separated them from the rest? They reprogrammed their minds for success. How do you do the same? You start by questioning every belief that limits you. If you think money is evil, ask yourself, who told me that? And is it really true? If you believe wealth is only for the privileged, find stories of self-made millionaires who started with nothing. Replace negative conditioning with ideas of growth, prosperity, and abundance. Feed your mind daily with wisdom. Read books on wealth, study personal development, and listen to people who have succeeded. If you fill your mind with the right thoughts, your actions will start aligning with success. One of the most powerful lessons I ever learned was that if you want to be successful, you must surround yourself with people who think big. If your closest friends believe success is impossible, that mindset will infect you. But if you spend time with ambitious, driven individuals, their thinking will lift you higher. Years ago, I met a young man struggling financially. He told me he worked hard but never seemed to get ahead. I asked him, "What do you do with your free time?" He admitted he spent hours watching television and scrolling through distractions. I said, "There's your problem. You're feeding your mind entertainment instead of education." I challenged him to replace 1 hour of entertainment each day with personal growth. A year later, he had started a side business, invested his savings, and was on his way to financial independence. What changed? His mind. The secret to wealth is not just in working hard, it's in thinking differently. If you train your mind to see opportunities instead of obstacles, wealth will follow. If you believe in abundance instead of scarcity, you will find ways to create more. The question is, are you willing to reprogram your thinking? Because the moment you do, your financial future will never be the same. Wherever focus goes, energy flows. And where your energy flows, results follow. The reason most people struggle financially is not because they lack talent or opportunity. It's because they lack focus. They spend their time on distractions instead of direction. But those who discipline their minds, who master their attention, are the ones who build wealth and success. Most people wake up each day and let the world decide what they will focus on. They check their phones, get lost in social media, watch hours of entertainment, and then wonder why their lives never change. But here's the truth. The wealthy don't waste time. They invest it. They know that their focus is their most valuable asset. so they direct it towards skills, opportunities, and financial growth. I once had a conversation with a young man who told me he wanted to be rich. I asked him, "What are you doing every day to build wealth?" He said, "Well, I work a job, and when I get home, I relax, watch TV, and scroll through social media." I told him, "There's your problem. You want wealth, but you're focused on entertainment instead of education." The wealthy train their minds to stay focused on what matters. If you waste your energy on distractions, you will never get ahead. The mind is like a magnifying glass. When you focus it on one thing, it intensifies. That's why successful people set clear goals and discipline themselves to eliminate wasteful activities. They understand that every minute spent on distractions is a minute stolen from their future success. They are not perfect, but they are intentional. They don't let the day control them. They control the day. One of the greatest disciplines you can develop is the ability to protect your attention. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. Your phone, the news, endless notifications. If you don't take control of your focus, the world will steal it from you. The wealthy guard their attention like their most prized possession. They schedule their days, set priorities, and eliminate anything that doesn't move them closer to their goals. If you want to master your focus, start by identifying your biggest distractions. Is it social media? Endless scrolling? Hours of television? Ask yourself, is this activity adding to my wealth or taking away from it? If it's not moving you forward, it's holding you back. Replace wasteful habits with productive ones. Instead of watching TV, read a book on financial success. Instead of scrolling through social media, learn a skill that increases your income. Instead of wasting time, invest it. I knew a man who was struggling financially, but every night he spent hours watching sports. I told him, imagine if you spent just half that time learning about investing, business, or wealth creation. A year later, he came back to me and said, that one shift changed my life. He had built a business on the side and started investing, and his financial situation had turned around. What changed? His focus. Wealth doesn't come to those who are busy. It comes to those who are focused. If you discipline your thinking, if you train your mind to stay locked in on what matters, success is inevitable. But if you allow distractions to control your life, you will drift. And drifting never leads to greatness. The choice is simple. Waste your time or invest it. Because in the end, your future will be determined by what you choose to focus on today. Discipline is the bridge between thought and accomplishment. You can have the best ideas, the greatest ambitions, and the most detailed plans, but if you let fear, doubt, and frustration take control, you'll never reach your destination. Your emotions can be your greatest ally or your worst enemy, because the way you feel influences the way you think, and the way you think determines the actions you take. Most people let their emotions dictate their decisions. When things get tough, they panic. When an opportunity comes, they hesitate. When they face a setback, they give up. But the wealthy, the truly successful, have learned to discipline their emotions. They don't let fear stop them. They don't let frustration cloud their judgment. They understand that emotions are temporary, but decisions can have lifelong consequences. I remember speaking with a man who had a great business idea. He had done the research, he had the plan, but he was afraid to take the first step. He told me, "What if it doesn't work?" I told him, "What if it does?" See, fear was keeping him stuck. He was waiting for certainty, for a guarantee, but success never comes with a guarantee. If you wait until you feel completely ready, you'll never start. The wealthy understand this. They feel fear just like everyone else, but they don't let it control them. Doubt is another enemy of success. Some people have all the potential in the world, but they never believe in themselves. They doubt their abilities, their ideas, their worth, and because they doubt, they hesitate. Because they hesitate, they never take action. And because they never take action, they never achieve anything. I tell people all the time, if you doubt yourself, the world will doubt you too. Confidence isn't something you wait for. It's something you develop by taking action despite your doubts. Then there's frustration. How many times have you seen people give up because things didn't go as planned? They hit an obstacle, and instead of finding a way around it, they quit. But success isn't about avoiding problems, it's about solving them. Every wealthy person has faced setbacks. Every successful person has dealt with failures, but instead of letting frustration take over, they step back, think rationally, and find a way forward. If you want to build wealth, you must train yourself to stay calm under pressure. When others panic, you stay steady. When others quit, you keep going. When others doubt, you trust yourself. This is what separates the successful from the unsuccessful. Not talent, not luck, but emotional discipline. How do you develop this discipline? First, recognize that emotions are just signals. They don't control you unless you let them. When you feel fear, don't react immediately. Take a breath, analyze the situation, and make a decision based on logic, not emotion. When you feel doubt, remind yourself of past wins, no matter how small. Focus on progress, not perfection. When you feel frustrated, shift your mindset. See challenges as opportunities to grow rather than reasons to quit. I once knew a man who lost his entire investment in a failed business. He had two choices: let fear stop him or learn from his mistakes and try again. He chose to try again, and his second venture made him a fortune. What changed? His emotional discipline. He refused to let fear and frustration define his future. Wealth requires courage. It requires the ability to move forward despite fear, to believe in yourself despite doubt, and to stay steady despite setbacks. If you can control your emotions, you can control your future. Because in the end, success doesn't go to the smartest or the luckiest. It goes to the ones who refuse to let their emotions make decisions for them. Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. That's the mindset of those who build real wealth. They don't just work hard, they think smart. They don't chase every opportunity, they analyze, they calculate. They make strategic moves. The difference between those who struggle financially and those who thrive isn't luck. It's not even intelligence. It's the ability to think critically, to make smart decisions, and to avoid the traps that keep most people stuck. Most people react to life instead of analyzing it. They make financial decisions based on emotions, impulse spending, chasing get-rich-quick schemes, or avoiding risks altogether out of fear. But wealthy people train their minds to evaluate situations logically. They ask the right questions. They weigh risks and rewards. They take time to understand before they act. That's the discipline of critical thinking, and it's one of the greatest skills you can develop. I remember a young man who came to me excited about a business deal. He told me, "This opportunity is once in a lifetime. Everyone is making money with it." I asked him, "Have you studied it? Have you looked at the numbers? Have you thought about the risks?" He hadn't. He was operating on emotion, excitement, urgency, fear of missing out. And that's exactly how people lose money. The wealthy don't invest based on hype. They analyze, they research, they think. Before making any financial decision, ask yourself, is this moving me forward? If the answer isn't clear, pause. Train yourself to step back and look at the bigger picture. Will this decision put you in a better position a year from now, 5 years from now, or are you just chasing short-term gratification? Those who succeed think long-term. Critical thinking means knowing the difference between real opportunities and distractions. Every day, people are bombarded with options. New businesses, investments, career paths. Some will lead to success, but many are dead ends. How do you tell the difference? Learn to analyze. Read books on finance. Study how successful people think. Sharpen your ability to see patterns. A person who trains their mind is far more valuable than someone who simply works hard. One of the biggest mistakes people make is trusting advice without questioning it. A friend told me, "This is a great investment. Everyone else is doing it." But wealthy people don't follow the crowd. They think independently. They ask, does this make sense? Does it align with my goals? Have I done my own research? They take responsibility for their decisions instead of blaming circumstances. Some people avoid decisions altogether because they fear making the wrong choice. But indecision is a decision. It's a decision to stay where you are. If you want to build wealth, you must train yourself to analyze and act, not recklessly, not impulsively, but with strategy and confidence. If you make a mistake, you learn from it. If you succeed, you refine your process. Either way, you're improving. I once knew a man who built a fortune not because he worked the hardest, but because he thought the sharpest. He trained himself to see opportunities others missed, to avoid traps others fell into, and to make decisions that kept moving him forward. That's the power of critical thinking. It's the difference between struggling and thriving. You don't have to be born with this ability. You can develop it. Read, study, ask better questions, and train your mind to think strategically. Because wealth isn't just about working hard, it's about working smart. And when you master the ability to think critically, you take control of your financial future. If you are not willing to risk the usual, you will have to settle for the ordinary. That's the truth about wealth, success, and achievement. The road to financial freedom is not smooth. It's full of failures, setbacks, and unexpected turns. Most people give up too soon because they take failure personally. They see it as a sign to stop. But those who build real wealth, they see failure as a teacher, a stepping stone, a necessary part of the journey. One of the biggest lessons you can learn is this: failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of it. Every wealthy person you admire has faced failure, sometimes more than once. But instead of quitting, they studied their mistakes, adjusted their strategies, and kept moving forward. That's the discipline of resilience, the ability to bounce back stronger every time life knocks you down. I remember a man who started his first business with excitement and big dreams. He was convinced it would work, but within a year, it collapsed. He lost everything. Most people in that situation would say, "This isn't for me. I tried and I failed, but not him." He looked at what went wrong, made adjustments, and started again. His second business failed too, but he learned. The third time, he got it right. And that's the one that made him a millionaire. If he had given up after the first failure, he would have never seen success. Most people don't fail because they lack intelligence or opportunity. They fail because they quit too soon. They experience one setback and assume they're not meant for success. But here's the truth. The only real failure is stopping. Every other failure is a lesson. It's data, it's experience. If you train your mind to embrace setbacks instead of fearing them, nothing will stop you. Think about a child learning to walk. They stumble, they fall, they get up again. No child says, "Maybe walking isn't for me," but adults do that all the time when it comes to success. They try something once, it doesn't work, and they give up. But the wealthy have a different mindset. They understand that failure is just feedback. It tells you what to improve, what to change, what to do differently next time. I once knew a man who lost his entire investment in a failed business. He told me, "I'll never try again, it's too risky." But I've also met people who lost millions and said, "Now I know what not to do." That's the difference in thinking. One person lets failure define them, the other lets it refine them. Here's the question you need to ask yourself. Do you let failure stop you, or do you use it to get better? If you develop the resilience to push through setbacks, no obstacle will be big enough to hold you back. Wealthy people aren't immune to failure. They just refuse to let it be the end of their story. Most people want guarantees. They want to know that every investment will succeed, that every business will thrive, that every risk will pay off. But that's not how life works. Success requires stepping into uncertainty, taking calculated risks, and knowing that even if you fail, you can recover, adjust, and try again. Every failure carries a lesson. Every setback prepares you for a comeback. Train your mind to see failures as stepping stones, not stumbling blocks. If you do, no failure will ever be final, and success will always be within your reach. Formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. That's the difference between those who struggle and those who thrive financially. The wealthy don't stop learning when they leave school. No, they make education a lifelong commitment. They understand that the mind, like a muscle, must be trained and strengthened every day. If you're not growing, you're falling behind. If you're not learning, you're limiting your potential. The truth is, most people spend more time entertaining themselves than educating themselves. They'll watch hours of television, scroll endlessly on social media, and consume mindless content. But when it comes to learning about money, success, or business, they say they're too busy, and that's why they struggle. Wealthy people think differently. They read books, attend seminars, and study success like their future depends on it, because it does. I knew a man who, despite never attending college, became incredibly successful. How? He committed to reading one book every week. He studied business, leadership, sales, investing, anything that could sharpen his mind. Within a few years, he had more financial wisdom than most people who had spent years in school. His self-education paid off, and he built a thriving company from scratch. Now, let's talk about money. The reason most people struggle financially isn't because they don't work hard. It's because they never took the time to learn how money works. The wealthy study wealth. They understand investing, compounding, and cash flow. They don't wait for someone to teach them. They seek the knowledge themselves, and that's why they get ahead. I remember meeting a young man who wanted to build wealth, but didn't know where to start. I told him, start with a book. He looked at me confused. He was expecting some complex strategy or secret formula, but the secret is simple. Learn. Read about personal finance, business, investing. The more you know, the better choices you'll make. And the better choices you make, the better results you'll get. Success is not an accident. It's not luck. It's the result of making the right decisions over time. And good decisions come from knowledge. If you don't study success, you won't recognize opportunities when they come. If you don't study business, you'll make costly mistakes. If you don't study money, you'll always struggle to keep it. Education is the foundation of wealth. The problem is, most people stop learning after they graduate. They believe education ends when school ends. But wealthy people never stop learning. They understand that in a world that's constantly changing, staying the same is the fastest way to fall behind. That's why they invest in themselves daily. So here's the challenge. Dedicate at least 30 minutes a day to learning. Read a book, listen to an audiobook, study a successful person. Over time, this habit will transform your thinking. And when your thinking changes, your results change. Some people will say, I don't have time, but they'll spend hours watching TV or browsing social media. It's not a matter of time. It's a matter of priorities. The wealthy prioritize learning because they know it's the key to success. I'll leave you with this. Your income will rarely exceed your level of knowledge. If you want to earn more, learn more. If you want to grow, invest in yourself. The more you educate your mind, the wealthier your future will be. Success is doing ordinary things extraordinarily well. That's the key. Most people spend their time focusing on problems. They complain about their job, their finances, and their circumstances. They talk about what's wrong, what's unfair, and what's impossible. And because they focus on problems, they stay stuck in them. But the wealthy think differently. They don't dwell on problems, they solve them. They ask, how can I add value? How can I fix this? How can I turn this obstacle into an opportunity? Wealth is created by solving problems. Think about it. Every product, every service, every great business exists because someone saw a problem and provided a solution. The wealthiest people in the world are those who solve the biggest problem. Instead of complaining, they create. Instead of making excuses, they take action. I once knew a young entrepreneur who struggled financially. He kept saying, I need more money. But I told him, money follows value. You don't get paid for needing money. You get paid for solving problems. So he changed his mindset. He looked around and asked, what do people need? What problem can I solve? And he found one. Local businesses were struggling with online marketing. He learned the skills, offered a service, and within a few years, built a thriving business. The lesson? Money flows to those who solve problems. Most people, when faced with an obstacle, stop. They say, I can't do it, or it's too hard. But wealthy thinkers ask different questions. They say, how can I make this work? Or what's the opportunity here? Your success depends on the quality of the questions you ask yourself. If you keep asking, why is life so hard? You'll keep finding reasons to stay stuck. But if you ask, how can I turn this around? Your mind will start searching for solutions. History is full of people who turned problems into wealth. Take Henry Ford. Cars were once a luxury only the rich could afford, but Ford asked, how can I make cars affordable for everyone? That question led to the assembly line, which revolutionized the auto industry and made him one of the wealthiest men of his time. Or think about Steve Jobs. Computers used to be big, complicated machines. But he asked, how can I make them simple and beautiful? That question led to Apple, one of the most valuable companies in history. It's the same in your life. If you want to build wealth, don't wait for money to come to you. Look for problems, find a need, create solutions. Discipline your thinking to always focus on the next move, not the roadblock. I once met a man who told me he had no opportunities. I asked him, what do people around you complain about? He said, they struggle with time management. I said, there's your opportunity. Help them manage their time better. A few months later, he started a productivity coaching business. The lesson is simple. Every problem contains an opportunity, but only those who train their minds to see solutions will find success. So here's the challenge. The next time you face a difficulty, don't complain, don't make excuses. Instead, ask, how can I solve this? The more problems you solve, the more valuable you become. And the more valuable you become, the more wealth and success will come your way. Most people spend their entire lives consuming. They buy things they don't need, spend money they haven't earned, and waste time on entertainment instead of education. They trade their hours for a paycheck, and at the end of the month, they wonder why they're still broke. But the wealthy think differently. They don't just consume, they create. They don't just spend, they invest. That's the mindset shift that leads to wealth. Think about it. Every wealthy person you know became rich because they created something. They built a business, invested in assets, or provided value that people were willing to pay for. They understood a simple truth. Money flows to the producers, not the consumers. But most people do the opposite. They work hard to make money, then turn around and spend it on things that don't make them richer. New cars, expensive gadgets, endless entertainment. And then they wonder why they can't get ahead. I once met a young man who told me he wanted to be rich. I asked him what he did in his free time. He said he watched TV, played video games, and scrolled social media. I told him, you're spending all your time consuming. If you want to be wealthy, you have to shift to creating. So he made a change. Instead of watching videos, he started making them. Instead of playing games, he built a business around them. A few years later, he was financially free. What changed? His mindset. If you want to be wealthy, you must learn to think like an investor, not a spender. So before you make a purchase, ask yourself, is this an asset or a liability? Will this make me richer or poorer? Poor people spend their money on things that lose value, clothes, cars, and gadgets that depreciate the moment they buy them. Rich people invest in things that grow in value: stocks, businesses, real estate, and knowledge. A friend of mine once said, I can't afford to invest. I told him, you can't afford not to. The reason most people never build wealth isn't that they don't make enough money, it's that they don't use the money they make wisely. They buy things that entertain them for a moment instead of investing in things that will serve them for a lifetime. Take Warren Buffett. He started investing as a teenager. While others were spending money on movies and restaurants, he was learning about stocks, buying businesses, and thinking long-term. Today, he's one of the richest men in the world. Why? Because he understood early on that wealth is built by investing, not spending. Or think about Jeff Bezos. While most people were spending money on books, he was selling them. He took the profits from his small online bookstore and reinvested them into what would become Amazon. Now he's a billionaire. The lesson? Consumers make other people rich. Creators and investors make themselves rich. So here's the challenge. Shift your mindset. The next time you get paid, don't just ask, what can I buy? Ask, what can I invest in? What can I create? The more you train yourself to think like a producer, the closer you'll get to financial freedom. Wealth isn't about how much you make. It's about how much you keep and how well you use it. Make the shift, and your financial future will never be the same. Most people live for the moment. They chase instant gratification, spend every dollar they earn, and wonder why they never get ahead. But the wealthy think differently. They understand that wealth is not built overnight. It's built over time. It's not about luck or sudden windfalls. It's about small, disciplined choices made every single day. If you look at the most successful people in the world, they didn't get rich by accident. They got rich because they thought long term. They understood that every dollar spent today is a dollar that won't work for them tomorrow. Instead of spending impulsively, they invested. Instead of wasting time on distractions, they built skills. Instead of seeking quick rewards, they stayed patient. I once met a young man who told me he wanted to be wealthy. He was working a good job, making a decent income, but every month he spent everything he earned. New clothes, new gadgets, nights out with friends. It was all about enjoying life now. I told him, if you don't change your habits 10 years from now, you'll still be working just as hard, but you'll have nothing to show for it. He didn't like hearing that, but he listened. He started saving a portion of his income, learning about investments, and thinking about the future instead of just the present. A decade later, he was financially free, not because he got lucky, but because he had the discipline to think long term. Most people want wealth, but they're not willing to delay gratification. They want financial freedom, but they're not willing to make sacrifices. They want to be rich, but they won't give up short-term pleasures. The truth is, wealth is a trade-off. You can have comfort today or security tomorrow. You can have entertainment now or financial freedom later. You can spend like the majority or invest like the minority. The choice is yours. Look at the story of Warren Buffett. He started investing when he was a teenager, and for decades he let his money compound. While others were chasing get-rich-quick schemes, he focused on slow, steady growth. Today, he's one of the richest men in the world, but his wealth wasn't built overnight. It was built over a lifetime of disciplined, long-term thinking. Or take Jeff Bezos. He didn't build Amazon for quick profits. In the early years, Amazon wasn't even profitable. He reinvested every dollar, thinking about the future instead of immediate rewards. That patience and vision turned Amazon into a trillion-dollar company. The secret to wealth isn't flashy. It's not about chasing the hottest trend or making a quick buck. It's about doing the right things consistently over time. Save a portion of every paycheck, invest in assets that grow, and avoid impulsive spending. Stay patient, stay disciplined, think long-term. Because in the end, financial success isn't determined by what you do once, it's determined by what you do daily. Wealth is a marathon, not a sprint. And those who have the patience to think beyond today are the ones who will own the future. Most people love the idea of success. They read books, attend seminars, take notes, and feel inspired. But when it comes to taking action, they hesitate. They overthink. They procrastinate. They wait for the perfect time. But let me tell you something. There is no perfect time. The only time you have is now. I once met a man who had been studying investments for years. He could quote every financial book. He knew all the strategies, and he could tell you exactly how wealth was built. But there was one problem. He hadn't invested a single dollar. He kept waiting for the right moment, the right market conditions, the right opportunity. And while he waited, others took action and built their wealth. Knowledge is useless without execution. You can have the best ideas in the world, but if you never apply them, they mean nothing. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't intelligence, it's action. I've seen people with half the knowledge achieve 10 times the results simply because they were willing to take the first step. They didn't wait until they had all the answers. They started, learned along the way, and adjusted as needed. That's how wealth is built, not by thinking about it, but by doing. Take the story of Sam Walton. He didn't have a fancy education in business, but what he did have was a willingness to take action. He started with one store, learned from his mistakes, and kept expanding. Today, Walmart is one of the biggest businesses in the world, not because Walton had all the answers, but because he was willing to take action, fail, adjust, and keep going. Too many people are stuck in the cycle of learning without applying. They watch motivational videos, they read self-help books, and they tell themselves they're making progress. But the only real progress comes from action. If you want to build wealth, start now. Invest that first dollar. Start that business. Develop that skill. Don't just plan, execute, and don't let fear hold you back. Fear of failure, fear of looking foolish, fear of making mistakes. Let me tell you something. Failure is part of the process. Every successful person has failed more times than the average person has even tried. The wealthy understand that failure isn't the opposite of success. It's a necessary step toward it. Think about this. If you take action today, a year from now, you'll be ahead. But if you keep waiting, a year from now, you'll still be in the same place with nothing but regrets. So, make a decision. Will you be someone who only talks about success, or will you be someone who takes the steps to achieve it? Stop waiting, stop hesitating. Train your mind to move from thought to action. Set your goals, take steps daily, and turn ideas into results. Because in the end, it's not what you know that will make you rich, it's what you do with what you know. Success is not about intelligence, luck, or talent. It is about discipline. Discipline to control your thoughts, focus on the right things, push past obstacles, and take action daily. The only question left is, will you be one of the few who disciplines their thinking and builds wealth? Or will you let distractions and fear keep you stuck? The choice is yours. Start today.